the 11th and 13th of March are canceled due to the NLC trip a number of you are taking to Washington, D.C. So your next work session will be on the 25th, 3 p.m. here in the council chambers, and then your next regular meeting is the 27th at 5 p.m. also here in the council chambers. A few projects tonight. The on-call demolition services contract, which includes Kings Court, and I believe the mayor went out there today to see how that's going. So at long last, that project has come to fruition. The annual street maintenance pre-bid meeting has been scheduled for March 4th, with bids due in on March 25th. The Garden Avenue project, which we've been waiting for a while, the pre-bid was held on January 28th, and those bids are due March 5th. And then the MLK Junior Parkway reconstruction from Avenida Escuela to State Route 90 has been awarded to K&G with a says start date in March, but that'll come up here later in the meeting. We'll be discussing here a little bit. Finally, we've been, of course, tracking the food tax as it winds its way through the legislature. And the good news is there's been a couple of amendments proposed to that particular bill, one of which is pretty much holds us harmless. Another is a little more restrictive and hurts some of the smaller communities around the state. So we'll keep track of that. Both of them made it through committee, and they were being heard for third read today. So we'll let you know hopefully by Thursday what's going on with that.
Excellent. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
It's good to hear those positive comments on the food tax. Hopefully it means that people are listening to the community, especially those legislators that live right here in our community and are lobbying for this, which doesn't support our community. So hopefully maybe they're having a little bit of change of heart, or listening to what we have to say.
They don't call me back.
Yeah. If they could just give us some calls back, that'd be cool too. I'd like that.
All right, and then we have consent agenda, Councilman Rodriguez. We'll go to our new business. Item number 3, resolutions 2025-017, staff report, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. It'll take a little extra time explaining this particular resolution. It's for accepting grant funding in the amount of $115,472.89. And this is our allocation of local border support grant money from the Arizona Department of Public Safety. With this particular application, we had to submit very specific projects that we will use this funding to support. And we were awarded funding for the purchase of license plate readers, a new drone, and a new canine. So let me talk a little more about the license plate readers, because I believe this is actually the first time we've even talked about license plate readers. So license plate readers now are being used by a number of police agencies, rural municipality, to record license plates of vehicles at various strategic roadways, choke points coming in and out of the city. This is not used for traffic enforcement. This is not taking photographs of, for facial recognition or anything of that nature. What it does do is it recognizes the vehicle as a vehicle fingerprint. So you look at a vehicle, not just its license plate, but the color, special marks on it that we are looking for. So license plate readers can be programmed to look for a blue hatchback with a very unique sticker in the back, because we don't have a license plate and we're looking for it because it committed a felony offense. License plate reader can look for that fingerprint of a vehicle and give us license plates of vehicles that match that description as it goes through that passes that camera in a checkpoint. So this particular grant will be used to fund first ever license plate readers for our city. Other areas in our jurisdiction that use them are Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Douglas Police Department, Customs and Border Protection use them as well. We have been looking at strategically identifying areas where we would put these cameras, and typically they record license plates for 30 days and then they're deleted. And so we can program them to look for missing persons. So if we have a silver alert, and we have a lot of those in this community where maybe somebody with dementia got behind the wheel and left, and we can actually put that license plate in and see and find out which direction they went. How did they leave town? Help us, guide us in concentrating our efforts looking for it. But it's also for criminal investigations. So let's say, for example, we have a road rage incident. Someone said it was, I'll just keep with the blue hatchback. I have nothing against blue hatchbacks, and I don't know anything about. But let's say, for example, it's a blue hatchback with and that's the suspect description, and it had a sticker in the back, and that was a road rage suspect. We don't have a license plate. We can actually have the license plate readers show us matches of those vehicles and get us a license plate. Let's say, for example, we terminated pursuit and we weren't able to get a license plate on the vehicle, but we have a description. We're looking for, a white Toyota truck, and we know the time frame. We can have those license plate readers check that. So that is going to be next level stuff that can tie in with our real-time crime center. This is kind of like getting that interface and growing with our real-time crime center. And using this technology, we can put these license plate readers not only along city right-of-ways, but also state highway. It has been done. There is a precedence. We've actually reached out to ADOT. There is a permit process, and once actually this is approved, we'll probably start that permit process because we want Highway 92, Buffalo Soldier Trail, Highway 90, a lot of the major ingress and egress routes in and out of the city to be covered with the license plate readers. So that's one part of this grant. The other part of the grant is to replace a drone. There's a new up-and-coming platform with drone technology that will allow us to use drones for 3D crime scene diagramming and accident reconstruction. And so we will be able to use these funds for a new drone. And then lastly, the other portion of this grant is for purchasing a new canine. As many of you know, Canine Yukon retired medically not too long ago. This will give us an opportunity to purchase a new canine as well as the training for the new handler, which will be both canine, patrol canine duties as well as narcotics detection. And so with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for Chief? Yes, sir.
How many K-9 units do we have now?
We have one right now, sir.
And he's being retired, or she, or whatever?
No. So Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Johns, we actually typically have 2 canines at any given time, and we're down to 1 right now. So we usually have 2. We're actually looking at possibly growing this program and having 1 per shift. So we've never had 3 at any given time, but right now we just want to get back up to our normal staffing of 2.
And then the image from the license plate readers appears where?
So we actually have access to it. We can use apps on our phone. There's a data management system that comes with this, cloud-based storage that we can access. So we can interface it with our computers in our cars, our work phones, and also our real-time crime center.
Thank you.
More questions? I do have a question and this has nothing to do with license plate readers, but since the retirement of Mr. Officer Scott, is there going to be another person to step up to the motor officer?
Mayor McCaw, that's a good question. We are going to work on that. That's in one of my strategic goals, and is to get a full-time traffic unit back. There is specialized training that comes with operating a motorcycle.
Yes, sir.
And we've actually got an opportunity to possibly host a school for that, to maybe get a couple officers certified to use the motorcycle. So we're working on that. Maybe as soon as this spring, we'll have a more definitive timeline to get someone qualified to use that motorcycle.
Excellent. More questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We go to item number 4, Resolution 2025-018, staff report. Mr. Boone, sir.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So before you today is the intergovernmental agreement for the Cochise County Tourism and Economic Council. The agreement as presented was approved by the Cochise County Board of Supervisors on 28 January. And before that, it's taken a little bit of time to work through all of the partners, both the city and town managers. Now, for those of you that are not aware, CCTC is a cooperative organization to primarily pursue tourism efforts to ensure Cochise County and, of course, the participating cities of Benson, Wilcox, Bisbee, Douglas, and Sierra Vista join together for advertising and maintain a presence both on a website, Explore Cochise, as well as social media. In the very competitive tourism environment of Arizona, it's important to note that we come together to highlight Cochise County and our surrounding communities. Ultimately, this is driven by the steering committee, which meets quarterly, which is again made up of the city and town managers and the county administrator. So coming together as CCTEC allows the group to participate in Arizona's Office of Tourism, or AOT ad co-op for rural locations. So it's a 50% match up to $50,000 in advertising. So in the current year, we, with CCTEC funding, funded $44,795, which resulted in over $89,000 of advertising. This included international advertising to Canada and Mexico, Smithsonian video and banner ads, streaming ads on 12 News, and then, of course, more traditional ads such as Birdwatchers Digest, True West Magazine, and Arizona Highways Magazine. There are also brochures, and of course, we've got responses to the websites for lead generation. Now, for the city, it allowed us to synchronize our ad buys in magazines such as Birdwatchers Digest. The city of Sierra Vista went into those, as well as CCTEC. So if we bought 3 ads, Cochise County bought 3 ads, we could actually cover 6 of 12 months. So there's a great synergy between the two. Additionally, we've held some on-site meetings to ensure that the visitor centers across the county and all the tourism personnel are very familiar with each location. Bisbee was the first one last year. Douglas was in January, and then we'll host the team in March 21st, actually, show off the Tour de Zona. We'll take a quick trip up to Fort Huachuca if we can work that out. The Golf Center sports complexes, and then we'll actually visit the Tour de Zona in the park. And it's really a great opportunity to ensure that the customer service reps in each location are very familiar with all of the visitor centers and all of the offerings. Now, as the administrative agent for CCTEC, the City of Sierra Vista employees oversee, and then we provide the manpower behind CCTEC. So half of the tourism coordinator position is reimbursed. That's the position currently filled by Lauren Healy. From Adam's department, any of the production, creative, videos, or graphic design work is refunded. My admin assistant's been working on the social media side. And then, of course, the grants administrator oversees all the budget, so Yoli or Michelle. So we get that reimbursement back as we service CCTEC. With your approval of the IGA on Thursday, this will move the remaining participants forward. So we've still got Benson, Bisbee, Wilcox, and Douglas, the remaining cities, and their appropriate councils to approve. And then additionally, the funding for the county and then the 4 communities approved, or the 5 communities, is approved on an annual basis. So the IGA sets the framework up, and then each of the councils or board of supervisors approve the budget for the coming year. So with that, I will answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Why are Tombstone and Huachuca City not members?
The simple answer, I can't answer Huachuca City other than they've never been a member. And Tombstone several years ago opted out.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we'll go to ordinance 2025-001, staff report, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. If you remember, I was here in December, and this is a request to make some additions and edits to Chapter 94 of our City Code of Ordinances. And it incorporates a lot of our golf course property into that, and also makes some other changes in relation to parks and administrative changes as well. Just to kind of go over what we did with the golf course, we added a specific definition to the golf course, as it is not a park and it is not a sports field. It's kind of something on its own. Under the Chapter 9403 for park hours, we added a clause for the hours of operation, which will give the authority to set hours for the space to our contracted management company, subject to the approval of the department director. This will allow the operator to make changes to the hours based on things like seasonal demands, work to the property that needs to be done, and maintenance. A good example of that are closures needed due to frost in the mornings. They have to quickly make those changes. It would be unreasonable to ask a private business to come to us every time they needed to make those calls. And so I will work very closely with them, but they're going to have to do what they have to do when the weather does what it has to do. So that puts that into the codes. Under park grounds and properties, we added the golf course, the sports field, track, skate park, sports courts, and adjacent parking lot spaces to the trespassing clause. That prohibits people from accessing those areas between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. without permission. The enforcement code 9403, we added the golf course property to give our police officers the authority to enforce our ordinances on the property. Under metal detecting, we prohibited metal detecting of any kind on the golf course property. Under 9404, for the smoking, we included language that will allow the hosts of special events to designate smoking areas during those events as long as they're complying with the Arizona state law. In addition, language was added that smoking is permitted on the golf course in open spaces and in designated areas on the grounds. We added item J to 9404, which is recreational walking on golf course property. This will permit people to walk on the property prior to the first tee time of the day and after the conclusion of golfing at the end of each day. It will prohibit golfing. It will prevent walking during all other times for the safety of individuals. We updated the title for Chapter 94.05 from park uses to parks, grounds, and property uses to allow the inclusion of our golf course property. Under camping in 94.05B, added language to prevent camping and sleeping at the golf course grounds at any time. Added item C 9405 for fishing, which will prohibit fishing, wading, and swimming at the golf course property in all ponds and lakes. Added item D for 9405 for loitering, that will be prohibited at all times on the golf course property. And then we have additional edits that are specific to our other parks and open spaces. So 9404 for commercial or vending activities, we updated the language to include beverage service providers and contracted operational vendors with permission to be included within the exemption clause. Examples of that is we have coffee and other food trucks that are not just food related. We have drinks as well. So just cleaned up that. Under the noise ordinance of 9405F requires a permit for amplified music and live public performances and would allow such performances in park locations other than Centennial Pavilion with the director's approval. Examples of this are public demonstrations. Red for Ed is an example that happen outside of the pavilion spaces. Anytime you're using a bullhorn, making a speech with any kind of it's amplified noise. It is not music. And as I just described, we put a definition for golf course property in, so this ordinance has nothing to do with the golf course. This is specifically to parks and the enjoyment of people within our park spaces. Dangerous activities in 9405G. This clause was updated to allow activities that are prohibited in public parks to take place in areas designated for those activities. An example of this is our archery range, which is happening now. Normally, bows and arrows are not encouraged in our open park spaces, and we don't allow golfing in our park spaces. So this will permit golfing at golf courses and archery at archery ranges. All other changes were administrative in nature to correct grammar and to correct the department name from Leisure and Library Services to Parks, Recreation, and Library. Our city code requires that any ordinance change be published or made a public record for a period of 30 days prior to being passed and adopted. During the required 30-day public review period, authorized by Resolution 2024-088, 13 comments were received through the city's Engage platform. The full survey results, which includes all public comments received, are located within your packet. Upon reviewing the public comments, it appeared that some community members may have interpreted the revisions to Chapter 94 as an effort to allow greater flexibility for noise levels at the golf course. However, that is not the case. To clarify, the proposed revision to the noise ordinance in Chapter 94, as I just said, applies exclusively to parks and does not affect the golf course property, and it is not designated as a park by definition in the proposed amendments. The golf course remains regulated under Chapter 93 noise, which is not subject to any proposed changes. The proposed amendments were presented to the Parks and Recreation Commission, which recommended approval during its November 12, 2024 meeting, and on January 14, 2025, the Commission reviewed the public comments received during the review period and did not recommend any further changes to the proposed amendments. With that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yeah. The mayor and I, during our meeting this morning, we were just curious. I know not all of this applies to the golf course, but for those that do, maybe would it be simpler to navigate for people, and just me? You know how we have a separate section, a subsection for the dog parks? Would it make more sense to take, instead of it having a spot in each, and just put it all together? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, we could certainly do that, and I could go back and work with the Parks and Recreation Commission to do that. But under Chapter 94, it is for parks, ground, and recreational properties, and this would be considered a recreational property. But we could actually go back and look at some amendments and maybe have like a subsection of those, and I'd be happy to work with the Parks and Recreation Commission on that if you'd like.
Sir.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, I think that idea might be helpful in terms of clarifying, the golf course. I don't think any changes will necessarily occur, but I think it will make it easier for the public to understand what's in that. And in order to do that, we would simply ask you to table the item that's on for next Thursday, and then move it a month out, and then Laura can work with the Parks and Rec Commission to clean that up.
Well,
But if you're okay with it now, it's okay to proceed too.
Yeah, well, yeah, if, yeah, I don't want to table it because we have to have all this in place. But could we approve it the way it is and then go back and add?
You could do that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Sweet. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for going through that and for clarifying everything in there. I think sometimes there's things that kind of get maybe lost in translation or whatever. I don't know. But I did want to comment that I really liked that the Engage report. I thought it was really cool to see that breakdown, and it was encouraging to see how many people engaged with it. So that was really cool to see that. So I appreciate everybody who went on there to check it out and to make a comment too. I think it's always very helpful to have your comments and your thoughts in there. So thanks everybody for doing that.
Sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you clearing this up as well. Just spending some time out there recently, seeing how things are going. I've still seen people out there riding bikes when they shouldn't be, and walking dogs when they shouldn't be, and it's very dangerous because, especially if I'm out there on the tee box, you don't want to be near the cart path. I don't recommend that. So, but I did have a question because there was an email about it. I mean, it was an email or maybe a comment about how people would find out when the first and last tee time is. That changes every day with daylight and things like that. But can they just call the office, call the pro shop and say, hey, when's your first tee time for today? And when is your last one? That way they know when they can or can't walk. Is that probably the best avenue for people to figure out what those times are?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez. The pro shop is open when they're open. You can also go online and see, but it's pretty much dawn to dusk is when they will sell a tee time. If you can see, they're gonna sell their tee times. But you won't really know if somebody's on, and we're also having some issues, even though it's getting better. I spoke to Paradigm, that we are still having some folks with their own carts that kind of hop on, and that's why it's very difficult to say that. This is really a liability protection for the city,
Right.
to make these statements, basically saying, this is the rule, and basically, if you're outside of that, it's at your own risk.
Thank you. Also, just clarify again, there's no fishing. Just because the city owns it doesn't mean it's open free for all to go fish there. That would be fun, that'd be great, but it's just not set up for that. And we don't have anything set up in place to abide by those state laws right now. So the birds seem to do their own fishing there for us and keep those fish numbers, I guess, where they should be. So I guess we should leave it up to the birds for now. Like I said, that would be great if it was set up for that, but it's not, and there's be mayhem of people walking back across the golf course trying to fish while people are golfing, and
I know there's a
just
big
wouldn't.
cat out there.
Yeah, there's some big beautiful fish out there, but it's not okay, and it's not what we're doing right now. Thank you, Laura.
Councilman Jones.
Yeah, I think breaking the golf course out from the other section of the ordinance that just addresses parks is a good idea. And calling in to the pro shop to find out when the last tee time is didn't work for the woman that was here last week. She said she called and was told the last tee time was 8 o'clock at night. And since it's a dawn to dusk operation, I'm not sure why she was told that, but maybe the person in the pro shop thought that was when the driving range was open. Don't know. Anyway, calling the pro shop didn't help this woman that was here last week. So I'm wondering if the ordinance shouldn't say that people can walk on the golf course after daylight hours. That tells them when they can go on the and walk on the paths and stuff, because there's not going to be golfers out there during the night. A thought.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Jones, I think the only thing that I could think of that would be unfortunate in that situation is during the times when maybe the front or back nine would be closed for maintenance, and that would give the public opportunities during those days. For example, I believe on Tuesdays they start golfing from the back nine, so it's going to take a couple of hours for people to reach the front nine. That gives more flexibility to the neighborhood, and that was in the spirit of which this was written, so that there would be possibly some daylight opportunities for some of our neighbors that are living around the property. Saying that it is only subject to nighttime hours, that would be it. The door would be closed, even if they were closing a front or back nine for maintenance for a week.
Well, okay. Also, I know that Chapter 93 addresses noise. Are we in compliance right now with Chapter 93 at the golf course?
100% in compliance. As a
Well,
matter of fact,
The
Sorry.
ordinance says, will make, continue, or cause to be made or continued any loud, unnecessary, or unusual noise which disturbs the peace and quiet of any neighborhood. Given all the emails that I've seen, and the results of the petition that was presented last week, where 94 people were complaining about noise, I don't think that the residents think that we're in compliance with Chapter 93.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Jones, the golf course has been closing at 7 p.m., their bar and restaurant every night, and the driving range has been closing at 6:30 p.m. They have not operated at night at all yet, so I'm not sure how to address that question.
Well, are we going to close the in-range system at 7?
No.
Because I don't think, well, other than people talking about the hole-in-one they made when they're standing in the parking lot, I think that the noise that people are complaining about is the music that is considered to be played at the driving range. That's my thought.
Well, I can, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Jones, I've personally been there during the evenings, and we left the music on until around 8 o'clock. We've had exactly 0 complaints for that. It's under 50 decibels, which is also in Chapter 93. And one night they forgot to turn it off, and it was on till 11, and we actually got 0 complaints then as well. And many of the neighbors have actually been visiting us when we're at the golf course, trying to figure out like what the noise is going to be. And I said, you know, we've actually been standing at the driving range, and I've said, do you hear the music now? And they said, yes. I go, this is literally it. And they said, oh, that's no problem. So I would encourage people to come out and maybe see it and experience it. We could, we're hoping that they'll be able to operate very soon with the lights and the music. That is the goal, and as soon as they get to a place where we think it's acceptable and we are within our codes, then we will be allowing them to do so.
Okay, well, I'm looking at the comments in the guest book, and there's 8 comments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 8 all are complaining about noise and music. And so it's not like the residents have been silent on the issue.
Correct.
So what are we going to do about that?
It hasn't been open past 6:30, so I don't really know what to tell you.
I would say I've been out there.
Well,
when the music was playing, I don't think it's not intrusive to me. It's not loud. I guess some residents are more sensitive, but we can look at it.
Is the purpose of the music to make more money for Paradigm?
Paradigm is our operator by contract, and they're a private business. So,
Is
yes.
the answer yes?
I don't know if the music brings more money to
I don't
Paradigm,
either,
but
so
it's
why
an
don't we do away
ambiance.
with the music? Because all it's doing is making complaints.
Can I- The whole,
Go ahead, sir.
the whole purpose of that system is, I mean, I'd recommend you go out there for
Yes.
yourself. That's what I recommend. I've been out there. I've walked around at night, and I asked Laura, "Is this how loud it is?" And she said, "Yes, this is how loud it is." So this is the max level. So I walked around in the dark, just kind of getting the feel of what it sounds like, and it's not a concert at Veterans Memorial Park type loud. It's not that loud. It's yes, it's different. It's a change. Yes, there hasn't been music played on the driving range till now. So yes, it is very different. But it's not even open till 10 yet. So I think once we get there and it's officially open, it's been open for a while for like a soft opening. I'd recommend you go out there and check it out for yourself just to see what this sounds like. That way you have I think you can gauge it better if you actually go out there. And you can see how the game is set up, how the screens are set up, and where the music comes down right there over you. It's not this huge concert. So I just so you don't think it's like something that happens like Veterans Park when there's a concert there. It's not that same kind of vibe. And the music, and that's part of the whole system. There's no, I mean, it's a nice ambiance. The intent is that's why the tables are there, so people to sit there, order food and drinks, and sit there, listen to music while their partners or friends are playing or not. So I don't think the answer would be just to eliminate the music. That would defeat kind of the purpose of that system, I believe.
So what do we say to the people that 94 people that signed the petition? What do we tell them? It sounds fine to us?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, we've read all those comments from 94 people, for sure. And we've also had people that live right next to them and say that it's fine, so, which way do we go here, all right? So, like I said, I'd recommend you go out there yourself. Give it a listen, walk around, talk to more people. And that, obviously, their feedback is super important to us, and we want to hear what's going on and the reasons. I know a lot of it's changed. It's hard. It's different. It hasn't been like that before. And again, the city did the best they could to figure out what to do here on this property. And remember what could be happening back there right now if there was nothing. What would we do if nobody owned that
Desert.
that desert that was open to whatever, bonfires, parties, whatever? It would definitely be a different thing going on back there than the professional way it's set
I
up now.
want Paradigm to succeed. I'm just not sure that music is going to help them succeed in any measurable
It
way.
hasn't even officially opened yet, so I don't think we're not there yet.
Councilwoman Jackson and Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, so to what Councilman Rodriguez said, that their feedback is very important. However, we have to consider their feedback because obviously we have a gap somewhere. There's a miscommunication because we are getting emails about the noise. So we have to figure how we can, make it right. Because right now we're not coming together. Does that make sense? So there's a miscommunication somewhere. And the residents are actually voicing their opinion. We cannot brush it off saying that we don't hear it, we don't live in that area. But they are constantly emailing. And that's one thing that Councilman Jones was stating, we're still getting the emails. So something is being missed somewhere. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Jackson, yes, it absolutely makes sense. And I would say that we have ordinances in place that talk about acceptable decibel levels and that our partner is within that range. And we are inviting people to come and experience that. I have not seen the petition. I don't know what the petition says. However, I would kind of wonder if everyone who signed the petition actually lines the golf course property where the music is being played. Where are those addresses located? Are they advocating on behalf of some neighbors who have made some complaints that are right there? We have taken the decibel meters by the property lines of the Bradley the white condos area there on Lopez Link and have stood at the fence line to make sure that the decibels are not reaching the 50 decibels. Within our code of ordinances, it is very clearly outlined what the responsibilities and the acceptable noise levels are, even if it's your next door neighbor playing music in their backyard. If it's under 50 decibels, they're within their rights to do that. And in addition to that, within here, there's a statement about non-amplified crowd noise in association with certain activities, and there's an exemption in this clause for non-amplified noise for talking, socializing, things like that. And so there is no need to redo an ordinance in order to make something special for this one private business that's operating a public facility. They are what I'm saying is they are within their ordinance, our current ordinances. And so and they're not even operating late at night yet. That hasn't even happened. The only time the lights have been on is when we've been testing.
Right.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just gonna say something because all the 6 comments the Councilmember Jones mentioned, they're more preemptive. They want us to make sure it doesn't get too loud, except for the one about the restaurant, which we've all been in restaurants where the music's too loud. You can just ask them to lower it. I think most restaurants will comply, like they'll turn it down like it is kind of loud. I've done that before. So just, I want the record to reflect that these people, the comments we're getting back, they weren't complaining about existing noise. They were all just saying that they want us to be aware that they don't want it to get too loud where they are at. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things about like the walking on the paths and stuff, I live along the golf course. The cart paths are great. I love walking on them because I'm not going to get hit by a car. When I'm running the street, sometimes, a couple of times I've had some things. So before, I would always be like, if the flags are down, it's fine. Everybody's done golfing. And that's kind of the thing that I would go by. And then if you see other people golfing too. But that's kind of like, look out and see what's going on out there. Be aware. Probably don't be having your AirPods on, going out there and just kind of be aware of your surroundings. And then as far as the noise and stuff, yeah, it's very important that we hear people's concerns. And exactly as Mayor Pro Tem said, these are not the comments. All the comments that I've read and heard are not about the noise that is existing right now. And I've been, my husband golfs all the time. Anytime he has free time, he's at the golf course golfing. I'm always asking, like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We went to the driving range, and it was really cool. They had the music out there. It was just like a nice hangout time. It wasn't like out there as people are not going to be bringing their own speakers and getting wild and crazy. Like back before, we would go to the pool sometimes and people would bring their speakers. It'd be kind of loud. They'd have some explicit music out there, which, that's cool. But there was no complaints about that I was aware of. And along the golf course, one thing, if we're going to talk about noise, a lot of people's dogs are barking all the time. Like I haven't heard any complaints about people's dogs or my dogs. So, but there's that too, and there's lots of things to kind of take into account. And whenever you live by people, whenever there's people, there's going to be noise. So, like across the green, some of my neighbors had a birthday party or something. They were getting pretty loud and rowdy, and I was wanting to hang out in the backyard. But it was fun. Let them have fun, and they're not going to be doing it every single night. So I think that it's not. I think the thing to kind of think about right now is it's not happening right now. And I think we can, as it opens, if things get wild and crazy, then we can take a look at it then. But until then, I think it's not really right to be shutting things down. Like other businesses in town, we don't shut them down what they do. Like when the marijuana facility the cannabis facility wanted to extend their hours. That's they have a business. That's their right. What are we going to do? Shut them down? And so that's kind of my thoughts on it. Let's just kind of take a look. We have plenty of people that are supporting it. And we've had a lot of really valid comments on council tonight too. So those are my thoughts on it.
I would suggest just take a stroll out there. That's what I did. Enjoyed it. It was great. And I loved it. And it's beautiful out there. And again, I'll go back to what Councilman Rodriguez said. We was handed a soup sandwich, and we had to make soup with what we had. And I think we did the best we can.
There's another name for that sandwich.
Oh yeah, I know. Cause we got 1,000 people watching.
The former mayor.
In the words of the former mayor.
Yeah.
Favorite comment.
Yeah.
I would just say I understand. Tompkins Park is my backyard, so I get it. There's been some concerts back there, which is kind of. I was like, what is going on? So I walked back there. It was a great band, but they got a permit, special permit, and they were, whatever. Do I wish the lights would go off earlier than 11? Yes, because I like my backyard dark. But it's okay. I get it. It's 11 p.m. That's fine. It's doable, right? If I'm out there past 11, I can wait till 11 till the lights go off, right? I didn't, and I've heard some people saying I didn't, I moved here thinking it'd be quiet, and that's still the goal. I didn't think Station 4 was going to get set up right next to my house, and so now I live with that sirens all the time. But it's just part of life now for me. I don't even notice them anymore, honestly. But it's just one of those things too. I understand when people are saying like, "Well, I moved here with this intent," or "This wasn't like this before." I understand because, like I said, when I first moved there, Tompkins Park was kind of quiet and there was no fire station. Now there is. So things change, and I understand how that can affect you. And it's all I can say is, from my perspective, from my what I've dealt with, as time goes on, I don't even notice it anymore, and it really hasn't been a nuisance to me.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor McCon, members of the council, clearly, when we took over the golf course and we ran the numbers while Castle and Cook was running it, as you're aware, the golf course was losing $360,000 a year in operating expenses vis-a-vis revenues. When we found Paradigm, after looking and talking to Troon as well, they have agreed in our contract to take over the operation of the golf course and not ask us to subsidize that $360,000. So they are taking it at their risk. But even with increased play that I think will happen as a result of better management, I don't think that will be enough for them to overcome all of that $360,000 loss. Hence, we have the driving range improvements that are being made in order to help them make that goal. Now, as Councilman Rodriguez mentioned, the alternative would have been not to take over the golf course, and where would we be right now? Be a different situation. We want to be good neighbors. The lights went up; they're being tested. And even as we speak, staff is working on ways to mitigate the light pollution coming from that, and great strides have been made. There's probably a few more improvements that can be made to do that. So that is ongoing and will continue. The noise, we'll have to see, where that's at when everything is operational, and if they do plan on going later in the night, we'll have to monitor that. I think Paradigm wants to be good neighbors. I think we want to be good neighbors, and I think we will continue to work to mitigate the issues that are out there. Are they all going to go away? No, they're not all going to go away. So it will be different, but we can make it better.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments? All right, good discussion. We'll go to item number 6, Resolution 2025-019, staff report. Would you take this? You want to take this for Mr. Selena?
He's on.
Oh, he's on. Hey, what's going on, sir? Pam, you're there.
So the City Council, how are you today?
All is well.
Thank you for allowing me to appear virtually. Yeah, I'm here, and I will see you on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
The Sierra Vista IDA adopted its resolution approving a revenue bond issue for Flagstaff Junior Academy in an amount not to exceed $15 million. This will be for a new middle school campus. The middle school is already in existence and in place, but they are moving to a bigger, larger campus. They also have an elementary school. The bonds will be sold by Raymond James as unrated bonds to accredited investors or qualified institutional buyers with an investor letter. And I'm here to ask for your approval of the proceedings of the Sierra Vista IDA for those revenue bonds. I'm happy to answer any questions. As you always remember, there is no pledge of either the city revenues or the Sierra Vista IDA revenues. There is an administrative fee that is charged by the Sierra Vista IDA. So happy to answer any questions you might have on this bond issue.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions, comments? None, sir. We thank you. We'll see you on Thursday.
Very good. Thank you so much.
All right. And then we have a call to the public and comments and requests from the council. On tonight, we have 4 presentations. Our first presentation is coming from SAWS. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us. We are obligated to tell you about SAWS because we want you to know. SAWS is an acronym for Servants at Work. And what we do is we build handicap ramps for those low income that can't afford one on their own. And the only criteria we have is 2. One is the client is low income and permanent disability. A hip replacement doesn't count. So I want to introduce myself as Dale O'Neill, and I brought along one of my key people, Eric Anderson. SAWS is a nonprofit organization that welcomes all who wants to join us. And we have covered most of Cochise County. And our goal is to cover all corners of the Arizona, all 15 counties, and 2 counties in Nevada. What we do is slow, but we need 3 things to happen. One is the client, one is the funding, and one is the volunteers. The ramps cost nothing for the client, and we get our clients from various parts of the country or for the state and county through social services, veterans organizations, and our website. If you want to know more about us, you can go onto the website, and there's a lot of information there. All personnel are volunteers, and we like to tell them that we don't pay you anything, but the benefits are out of this world, especially when they can see the tears of joy on the client's face as they take those first steps down that new ramp. That in itself is what makes volunteers want to come back and do it again. And we always say that the thing we need is 2 things from the volunteer, is helping hands and a blessed heart. This map of Cochise County shows you the ramps that we have built in the past. We started in 2019 with the first ramp here in Sierra Vista. And we were working out of my wood shop at home, and now we have a shop over on Industry Avenue here that, or Drive, I mean, that is a blessing because we can produce more, and we've got a place to go to that's in town. What we do is we prefabricate the ramps into sections, and we screw them together with with these kinds of screws. There's no nails and there's no concrete, there's no excavation. It sits on the ground and can be easily removed if the ramp is not wanted. We can reuse it if it's in good shape. But we've done ramps all over the county, as far as Douglas and Wilcox. We have another ramp coming up this week in Naco, and one following week so in Bisbee. There are several applications out there that we have to service, and we do that by conducting phone calls to the client to make sure everything is accurate, and we vet them to make sure they are low income and they have a permanent disability. Once that's done, then we take the site survey and go out to the site and see if we can fit that into that location. Every ramp is different because of the terrain or there are obstacles to go around. And then once that's done, we put it through a CAD program and develop drawings and cut sheets, and then we go purchase the materials, and then we cut them, and we pre-cut the decking and all the boards and put them together and take them to the site, put these sections together with those screws I showed you, and the client takes their first step. 4 to 6 weeks later, we go back to the client and we ask them to review what they said on their application about being afraid to stay in the trailer or their home because of a fire. Can they escape safely? Or are they afraid? And we rate that 1 to 5. We ask them, what improvements have you had since you've had your ramp? And they tell us about all that. So we have a before and after survey of their needs, and then we were able to market that information with people like yourselves, other people in the community. Like I said, our ramps are built with pressure-treated wood, and it doesn't allow termites and bugs to get in it, and it's also protected from UV. The purpose of our information here today, that I'm standing here giving you the presentation, is the things I would like to ask you all, is that to spread the awareness of SAWS. And we want to be the go-to ramp people for people who, you can't imagine what it's like if they have a step or even a threshold that they can't negotiate. It's an immovable object for them. They have to stay inside of those prison walls. And what we try to do is give them the freedom to get out and rejoin their community and be able to age in their own home with familiar surroundings rather than go to assisted living or something like that, okay? That's what we get out of it, is the gratitude that they show to us. So I thank you. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for your willingness to help people in the community that need this kind of thing. I'm going to sign up on your site as a volunteer. And Mark and I have a question as to whether you guys do road repairs. Thank you for all you do.
I do have a comment before you go. Was it anybody else? Okay, thanks. Thank you for your presentation. I do like the helping hands and blessed heart thing. I like that. You know, that says a lot about you guys and your. How many volunteers do you currently have?
How many?
How many?
Yeah, we built 35 in this county.
How many people do you have helping? How many volunteers?
Oh, how many people? Right now, we got about 10.
Okay.
But they come in all walks of life. There's more to building a ramp than just
Right.
making sawdust.
Right on.
There's administrative things. People have to talk on the phone. They can do that from the home on the phone and talk to the client and get it all. Make sure the address is correct, the phone number is correct, and all information is correct.
Okay.
So there's other things to do besides, make sawdust.
Okay. Thank you. And then let's just say a fire crew maybe sees a need. Can they reach out and say, hey, can we call Saws? They went to a house that wasn't accessible. Maybe, maybe they can reach out to you if they know there's a house that they always have trouble maybe getting in and out of. Maybe they can reach out to you and see if the person qualifies, and maybe they can add to your list of ramps that they mean.
Well, the first thing is an application.
Okay.
They have to fill out an application, and then once that's done, they have to have a signed waiver to allow us to go on their property.
Okay.
If it's a rental, they would have to get the landlord's permission and a waiver.
My favorite.
So once all that's done, then we go to the site and see if we can make it work.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Okay? Anything else?
I'll make a quick comment really
Thank
quick.
you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to share this information.
Oh.
I thought that was really cool that it says the actual construction, besides like the pre-planning, 5 to 6 hours on a weekend. So I think that's great. You guys can come out there on a day and they can have the ramp. And the pictures are really cool. These are some pretty good sized ramps. So I think this is.
Well, they're all
yeah.
ADA standards,
Yeah, so
okay?
so thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And our next presentation is going to be 18-month strategic plan. Sorry about that, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of council. So this update's a little bit longer, but I'm going to try and get through it because we still have some other presentations here relatively quickly. But this report goes through the end of January, so your standard caveat that while we're fairly close to that, there wasn't a delay in getting this one to you guys. But some things might have changed in the past month since this was written. We do our best. Sometimes it's tough to decide what to put in at the time we write it. But staff have been hard at work, and I've got a lot of updates for you. So there are a number of initiatives that I marked behind schedule, starting with priority 1, which is the pavement condition index survey and street conditions. You had a presentation last fall that Ms. Flassar, sorry Sharon, shared with you that showed the average PCI slipped from 64 in 2019 to 58 in 2024, and those streets classified as poor or very poor more than doubled to 14.1%. So that is not good news and a high priority in the plan, but unfortunately not good news. Your next two that were marked behind schedule, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but Initiative 13, which I apologize, I meant to mark that one behind schedule. It's actually marked on schedule, but constructing Roadrunner Park. The second initiative is 14.3, design and develop a Fab Avenue, and those are tied together, and I'll explain here in a minute. So we budgeted money in this fiscal year to complete the construction plans on Roadrunner Park and Fab Avenue and move into construction. We got through consensus on the final concept last year, and so or that was just last fall. We've been waiting on a fee proposal from Wheat Design Group to design both Roadrunner Park and Fab Avenue at the same time, which an economy of scale will save us a little bit of money. We're still waiting to hear back from Wheat Design Group. They're actually in the process of combining with another company, so that delayed that quote a little bit. So we will not be starting construction in the next couple months because we do not currently have construction plans yet. So expect to see those two proposals in next year's budget process. We do have a really good possibility of grant funding for both construction projects, though. So I know Ms. Wilson is meeting with the state on those and other projects this week. So hopefully that will also be part of the proposal. Initiative 16, which is developing a transit master plan, I also marked behind schedule. A routing study is currently out to bid, and we received a lot of interest on or at the pre-proposal meeting. It's behind schedule because we had a lot of staffing challenges in the beginning. We also went to fare-free rides and then had to make a lot of adjustments because of the staffing issues. I'm happy to say that the division is running really well now. We've corrected all those issues. We have great management, so they need some more time to correct that, but they're in a really good place, and we'll be doing the routing study here really soon. So, but overall, it is considered behind schedule. The majority of the items in the plan are marked ongoing because they're actions or activities that occur on a regular basis, and there's no real completion expected, but some of the progress on some of those include priority 3, which is on maintaining a strong bond rating and general fund reserves. And Chuck shared this at the last council meeting, but I just wanted to reiterate, as far as that priority goes, that the general fund reserves improved after we closed the books for fiscal year 24 to their highest level ever at $10.5 million. Priority 4 is on planning and managing water resources, and we've shared a lot of information about the grants that have been received and the progress that's been made. And I know this information was shared with you last council meeting as well. We're tracking closely the grants that were paused at the time that this was written. We've since received some good news that at least one of the grants that I think it was the America the Beautiful grant, which paid for our consultant who manages the work of CCRN and the Sprinka AMC group. That funding was released, so that was really good news. But we're keeping a close eye on those, and the future of the environmental related funding is uncertain. So that is, we'll be watching it very closely. Initiative 7.1, which is expanding the Fry Boulevard streetscape. The expansion of North Garden is currently out to bid, so we're excited to have those come back. The construction money for that is in this year's budget, and will likely be, well, it will definitely be rolled over to next year. Initiative 10.2 is pursuit of the 203-acre conveyance. The fiscal year 25 National Defense Authorization Act was signed just before Christmas by the president, and that contained the no-cost land conveyance. So right now we're currently waiting to find out from the Army how to proceed, especially with the environmental requirements. Priority 3 is the implementation of the Parks Master Plan. We made some progress in the past 6 months with projects like the new playground that went into Len Roberts Park, which is now a national demonstration site, and we got a significant grant for that. The slides at Soldier Creek Park, storage at the Veterans Park Sports Complex, and replacing the multi-use path at Forest Dorners. So overall, we're not quite on track to meet the goal of completing it in 10 years, but I think council was aware that was a stretch goal to begin with. Priority 15, I wanted to point out, this is on recruitment and retention, and Chuck and I approved a new staffing plan for HR in January as part of this, and approved moving forward with 3 new positions in HR to, with all of the change and the opportunity presenting itself, to take advantage of reorganization and adding some positions which will help serve our staff and help recruit a lot better. So an additional recruitment person, an additional benefits person, and a deputy manager were added with only a small increase to the personnel budget due to the retirements in the division. In priority 18, I just wanted to point out the excellent job by communications staff at all levels, the numbers coming back, the increased in posts, videos, engagement, reactions were all due to the efforts of all of our staff from Ben, Elizabeth, David, Zach, Adam are all doing a great job getting new content out there. So. Finally, those initiatives marked complete these past 6 months were Initiative 7.3, which was evaluating electric vehicles, which was not overall favorable to adding EVs to the city fleet, so I marked that one complete. Initiative 12.2 was on the new citywide event. Hummingbird Month was a great success, and staff from the Parks and Rec and Library Department, Tourism and Economic Development, Communications, all did a really excellent job putting together a month-long calendar of events, launching the Hummingbird Heroes campaign, promoting other hummingbird-related activities, events around the community from outside groups, and so that was very successful, and of course will continue. And finally, Initiative 14.1, which was on the municipal court, and Rounds Consulting presented on that last fall. And given that information, council decided not to move forward with setting up their own court. So that concludes my report, and staff are here and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions, comments from the dais? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Always good information to see the updates on the strategic plan that everybody works so hard on. I want the voters to know how hard this gets worked on too. This is very important work. Priority 2 with the PSPRS, unless it's rolled in there, the Prop 207, that should be in there. Shouldn't be part of like another thing we're doing for PSPRS that gets added every year.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, is that the marijuana
Yes.
funds? Yes, it's not included in those numbers.
Okay.
So it's additional.
All right, I'd ask if you just add it in there, just something that we can make sure we keep track of, the public knows where that money's going.
Okay.
Because
Sure,
we
we
get
can
asked
do
that a
that.
lot, and that'd be easy to point out. It's good news about some of those federal grants opening up, because that's obviously been a big wonder and worry for us to see what's actually happening with those federal grants, which are very important to our community. So I am glad those seem to be opening up. Let me see. It's sad to see that the Echoing Hope Ranch pulled out of the withdrawal with the agreement to do the Reap Goodness thing in the Selger area. So I don't know what other. I'm sure they'll reach back out, or maybe I'm sure they're looking for another partner to keep that going in our community. So with that project called the Reap Goodness Food Project, Food Forest Project.
Food forest.
Because I definitely would love to see that keep going, and I guess that relationship didn't work out there with Echoing Hope Ranch. So maybe somebody else can step up, or if anybody knows anybody that can do that to work with them.
The project, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, the project actually is moving forward. The nonprofits that are involved, Reap Goodness and the Sunshine Rotary, are committed to helping plant the food forest.
Okay.
And then following the establishment, there are community volunteers that are going to adopt that property
Okay.
through our ADOPT program to oversee its quarterly maintenance.
All right. I wonder if that falls into something like U of A, their SNAP program, because it's about food. I'm not sure. Maybe if they can, I don't know. Maybe I can ask them. Okay. Also, when I'm talking to you, Matt, quick question. I need some history on this. 17, image and aesthetics of the city. So there's some neighborhood signs. You know, we have that awesome West End sign on the other end of the West End. That was done from, I don't know, from what I understand, a local mason in the area did it. Was there ever talk of doing on the other end when you enter? Whatever happened with that, or what's the history? Why we only have one side of that sign?
That project actually preceded my arrival. I am aware that there are members of the community that have an affinity for that sign, would like to see it on the east end
Right.
of the district to kind of bookend the west end.
Right.
We have not been able to track down the construction plans
Okay.
or even the contractor that was involved with that project. I mean, we could probably replicate something close if there was a desire from council to fund a project like that. I know the streetscape improvement plans for Fry Boulevard incorporated some identity elements, sculptures that were not funded as part of the initial project, but are, could be considered down the road, so.
Okay.
Maybe with what Dimitri was saying with the IDA, how they want to invest into just that sort of thing, they might be a good pathway.
All right.
But it did come up, Matt's had to hear about it at, when it was the West End Commission, that kept coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it for the information. That's all I have.
All right. Councilman Jones?
Yeah, I've got some questions, but I think I'll just send an email to Victoria on them. But the one that gave me the most pause was priority one, the PCI slipping, which she mentioned. And I assume that this is something that we'll talk about when we talk about the budget, whether we're going to add more money to work on getting the roads in a better condition.
Yeah, that'll be done during our budget. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Jones, certainly it'll probably come up again during your next strategic planning session, which will be, towards the end of March. And obviously, that's always a budget concern. And since you're new to the council, basically what's been going on with street maintenance is the primary funding source for street maintenance is highway user revenue funds, which is gas tax. That has not been a growing revenue fund for a number of years now. And of course, costs of street maintenance go up, and our revenue from HERF, Highway User Revenue Fund, does not go up. So it's a state-shared revenue source. As a result, you've had to turn to, or the council's had to turn to general fund monies through the Capital Improvements Fund. And now I think we have about $500,000 this year, and we're looking at about $1 million of sales tax dollars going in to supplement that. I still don't think that'll be enough, but we're in a position where we're going to have to use more and more general fund resources to augment our street maintenance efforts.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. And our next presentation is the presentation on the results of this recycling survey, Environmental Stewardship Commission. Ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. I always enjoy coming to these meetings because I learn so much about what's happening in the city. I'm Joelle Buffa, and I thank you for allowing me to give this presentation on behalf of the Environmental Stewardship Commission on the results of the recycling survey, which you approved after our last meeting in June. Okay, so for the new city council members, and also to refresh all of our memories, here's how the project started. In 2024, the ESC was made up of 5 commissioners, 2 of which are here with me today, Steve and Karen, and Susan Flassar, who is our staff liaison who provides a lot of valuable guidance and support. Thanks. Well, then one of our council or commissioners, he went to a higher form of government. So now we're down to 4. Several members of the public attend our Environmental Stewardship Commission as we discuss priorities. And these include members of the public. And one of the priorities that came up early on was recycling. And that includes reduction, reuse, the 3 R's. That was a priority, so a recycling subgroup was formed last February to focus on how we could decrease our waste stream into the landfill. The recycling group met 8 times during 2024, and up to 10 people attend various meetings, including members of the public and even Councilman Rodriguez, who attended a meeting and was very, very helpful on that. Also, the Sierra Vista Herald attended 2 of our meetings and published 3 articles about the commission and the recycling survey, and 2 of them even made the top story featured. After the council gave us the green light to do a public recycling survey of residents, we developed a 19-question survey in coordination with the communications division, and Adam Curtis helped us a lot with that. It was available, he put it on the city's Engage platform where it was available for just about almost 3 months, from early October to mid-December. To encourage public participation, the commissioners also staffed 2 Thursday farmers market booths, and that's a picture of one of them. And we also staffed a booth, and there he is again, Council Member Jones, and also another commissioner, Steve, there, hiding in the shadows. This is our booth at Vineyards of the Park. And in addition to telling people how they could access the survey on Engage, we also had examples of fun things they could do at their own house and with simple things that they could do to reduce and reuse. Also, another thing we did was former Councilman Mesmer helped us arrange a talk at the Joint Service Club, and then those people, all those groups, there's like a lot of groups, outreach that to their members. So we developed this 19-question survey, and then Adam Curtis advertised this in the city's newsletter, social media, and he also provided us with a 45-page report of the survey results. 567 responses were received. Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to go through all 45 pages. But I am going to review some of the pertinent findings and hopefully summarize them in about 12 slides. So first, the good news. One of the questions, how important do you think it is to have a community-wide recycling service? People overwhelmingly said it was important. Over 95% of the respondents think that it's important, and that's the red. I know you have monitors and a paper copy, but that's the red rectangle there. Circles the somewhat important, and essential. Essential is the green bar, so that's pretty high. Not important at all. Not very many people thought that. That's the pink bar. But now, turning to maybe not so good news, 85% of everyone who took the survey thought that they were not satisfied. They were either dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. That's the blue and the pink parts on the pie chart with the current recycling options available. Another question, how does your household recycle on a regular basis? One thing that really rather surprised us is that the majority of the people that took the survey, 60%, well, that should be 61%. I think that's, somehow that got to be the wrong side. Anyway, recycle on a regular basis? No. So the percentages are wrong, but the numbers are right. 318 people did not. So it wasn't just the people who currently recycle who were motivated to take the survey. It's pretty much a cross-section of residents, although there was an age bias, as Sharon pointed out when she did some analysis. Although 2/3 of the people that took the survey were 55 and older, that's not necessarily reflective. We have a little slightly younger demographic in the city. One thing I wanted to point out, this was a dividing question for purposes of the survey design. After this question, people that answered no, they don't recycle were answered a slightly different set of questions than the people that said yes, they do recycle. So let's look now at the 318 people that said they don't currently recycle. So these people were given, the non-recyclers were asked to select their level of agreement with a series of 10 statements, all beginning with, I don't recycle because. And the important thing for this side is just that the green and the yellow are they agree with this statement. The pink and the blue is they don't agree. Purple's neutral. And I just want to, you can go into further detail on your own with the handouts, but what I want to do is just boil it down to the 4 major reasons why people aren't recycling. So the highest was over 90% agreed that with the statement, I don't recycle because I don't have curbside service. But interestingly, there was a fair amount of people, 70%, agreed or somewhat disagreed with, I don't know where to recycle, or there's nowhere to take recyclables. So it's not that they didn't want to recycle, it was just that they didn't know how. And then about half said recycling options are too expensive, and that may be referring to the curbside service available here now. So let's turn now, these set of questions, the next few I'm going to talk about are the set of questions that were answered by the current recyclers. That was 249 respondents. And in this question, they said, the question was, how do you recycle, and check all that apply. So they were given a choice, and they could answer more than one choice. So the numbers at the top of the bars don't add up to 249. They add up to much more because some people recycle in various ways. But I wanted to call your attention, particularly because Councilwoman Landry always brings up the people should take their aluminum cans to the animal care center, and a fair amount do. That's the purple bar. So people are using that. They're also taking their recyclables to the Herald newspapers and dropping off at their plastic bags at the stores. And then, interestingly, a fairly high number of people said that they drop off recyclables either at Bisbee and pay an annual fee of $84, or they take them to Tucson. So people are using, what's available. Okay. This question helps us understand what motivates Sierra Vista residents to recycle. So this question was asked of current recyclers, and they were asked a series of statements and asked to select their level of agreement. So blue and pink signifies they don't agree. Green and yellow is agree. So being environmentally friendly, socially responsible, and reducing materials to the landfill were the top reasons for recycling. 98% of those current recyclers said that's why they do it. And another popular answer or reason why people recycle is they want to be socially responsible. 95% agreed with that statement. Responses to this question, which was answered by the people currently recycling, can help direct areas for improvement, I think, of the city. Although about 50% of the current recyclers are dissatisfied with the cost, that's the thing I have circled, the answer I have circled. However, they were more dissatisfied, more than 50% said they were dissatisfied with the availability of recycling programs or recycling outreach and education. So we're back to everyone took the survey, everybody who took the survey, that's all 567 respondents were able to answer this question. And this examines how far people are willing to drive to drop off recycles at a location. And I circled, or I put a bar over the three answers there. 80% of the respondents would recycle more. That's the pink is very likely, purple is likely, and the yellow bar is sort of likely. They would recycle if there was a drop-off center. So, and the green bar is 114 of those 567 people that took the survey said they wouldn't recycle and use a drop-off center. So less than about 20%. So this gives you an idea of how far people would be willing to drive to a drop-off point. Again, I put these. I should mention that these graphs are all from the Engage platform analysis. I didn't make the graphs. I'm just trying to emphasize or point out just to make them easier to read because they kind of made my eyes glaze over too when I first looked at them. But the 80% would be willing to drive 8 miles or more to a drop-off point. And the blue bar is I would not use a drop-off center, and that's basically about 20% of the answers there. So that gives us some idea if we were to establish a drop-off point, where to locate it. And then how much would you be willing to use? Well, people would use a drop-off center if it was free. That's basically what this graph says. The green is the, I wouldn't pay anything, and then you can, hopefully you can read the numbers, but basically this I think indicates that we have a challenge if we are going to establish a drop-off center. If we want to do some sort of recycling drop-off, we would have to work with partners either to reduce the costs or look and see how other similar-sized communities provide drop-off centers without charging upfront fees. Okay. One other thing that might be helpful, I thought, in pointing out the question, that this reinforces that outreach and education would be an important component of any recycling program, because well over half of the people said that they don't feel they have the knowledge and information that to recycle effectively. Okay, so with that, with some of the, we came up with some suggested where to go from here, next steps, and we broke them into short-term actions, medium, and long-term. So as far as short-term, one would be to partner with Bisbee on a drop-off recycling. I think at our last presentation, we went over Bisbee's recycling program. I won't go into that in detail, but one example would be to start by resuming a glass recycling like what was established several years back at the Public Works parking lot. Bisbee owns a grass crusher they purchased with an Arizona Department of Quality Act grant, and it will be producing crushed glass to use locally. So by keeping glass, which is a heavy item, out of our landfill, we would save money on dump fees and perhaps offset some of the costs of having a drop-off location. Another action would be considering adding an item to the city's upcoming strategic plan to do a recycling feasibility study. As I mentioned, education and outreach is important, and an example would be to post this what, where to recycle in display cases at the City Hall and other public places. This is something, it was a poster that I believe Adam and his staff made of, this is the website that our committee also worked on, our commission also worked on to update. And people that visited our tables at our public outreach events were very eager to learn more. They were taking pictures of a little QR code. They were asking us where they could get this information on the website. So I think making this simple outreach tool, an education tool, available would go a long way to letting people know where they can recycle in the city now. Turning to medium-term actions, one idea would be to partner with a local business that's already collecting, baling, and selling cardboard, and see if they would be interested in allowing the public to contribute so that the public would have a place to take it and they could offset some of their costs by the revenue they get from selling the cardboard. We understand that the enterprise fund for sewer and residential refuge pickups is being studied. So this may provide an opportunity to earmark a portion of those funds for a recycling drop-off point or a partnership with Bisbee. And finally, this is an idea that I recycled from my last presentation. Making recycling fun, something like a Art in the Park competition to raise awareness would also be a medium-term action. Longer-term actions would probably take more thought and resources, but one idea would be to pursue recycling resources offered by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, the recycling partnership or other nonprofits or entities to prepare a feasibility study for a recycling program, or kind of along the same lines, creating a task force to focus on a citywide recycling program that would take a look at advances in technology and markets. And then finally, perhaps creating incentives for local businesses to use less single-use packaging, getting into the reduce instead of the recycle. But one example would be to encourage restaurants in Sierra Vista or incentivize a substitute for the styrofoam packaging for some type of recycling or reusable takeout containers instead. So with that, I appreciate your thoughts. I think we're eager to hear what your ideas are, where you want us to go, any questions, and I'll turn it over to my other commissioners for to field questions. No, I'm just kidding. But they'll help me answer your hard questions.
Very well.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Are there any questions?
Just comments.
Go ahead.
Thank you for this presentation. It was an honor to sit in your meeting and see you guys work, and I'm glad you chose the route to use the website for your survey. So now seeing this all done from that meeting to now, it's really good to see that the whole process hopefully worked and it was a good avenue to use when it came to that survey. You brought up some good points. A lot of people want to know like where to recycle. It's very simple, like the QR code. Like, if you look at our city website, sometimes it's not easy to find things. So I would think if we click on the trash tab and just have a recycle thing that says this is what you can do for now, I think that might help a lot. If we could just add it there, that's the easiest thing website-wise, because now you got to dig, and people give up after 3 clicks. So one of our bigger tabs says trash. So if you could just click there, and although it's not a current city thing that we're doing, but maybe the options you have could be there. It's just my thought on that. And then, we all want to recycle. I think everybody, wants to do that. It's not that the city doesn't want to do it. If people aren't aware, the whole background of this, how it stopped, just the pricing of it got out of hand. Our biggest hurdle is getting things to I-10, is getting up to Tucson. They have the recycling facilities right there. They're able to do that a lot easier than we are, and that's one of the biggest problems is the truck getting the stuff up there. People like Republic Recycling, who used to work with, have reached out and want to work with us again, and they've offered some pricing. Now, again, it's not free, And looking at the survey, a lot of people want to recycle, but people don't want to pay for it, and that's a key thing there. Now, I like what you said too, that some people are paying the annual fee to go to Bisbee, and there's just a few things that would be involved. So we just have what I've seen was just the recycling trailers, for instance, from Republic Recycling. And it depends. They've come to our city. I've talked to them. They've looked at our areas. They really liked our refuse area where we used to do the recycling. And so they've offered some pricing for that, just for the containers themselves. Just so, just for a quick number, it's $1,000 a trip or $500 per container haul, right? So just that alone, if you were to do those trailers once a month, if that'd be enough or not, I don't know. It'd be hard to gauge it because we haven't done it in so long. Obviously, that's easy math. Luckily, $12,000 a year, or $24,000 if you do twice a month. And then you got to think about, do we need somebody to stand there and staff it? That was the issue last time, was with the contamination. Now, this price does come with a contamination fee, so they know there's going to be some contamination, right? And that was our issue last time is, hey, we don't take pizza boxes because they have grease on them, or that's the wrong number of plastic, sorry. So I think that would all fall into the, if I'm not mistaken, the contamination portion of it. Now, it goes by volume, so if, for instance, 25% or more, it's more of a fee, et cetera, et cetera. So they have given us a few options, but again, it's going to cost some money. And just, I also like that people talked about how long they're willing to drive. It looked like a short distance, kind of, right? Not very. So just so you know, like for some fun facts, like from the West End to the Refugee Center, that's 6.3 miles.
Right, there we go.
From Canyon to Flores to there, that's 7.4 miles. And then from Fort Huachuca, that's about 11 miles. So just to give you perspective of the 1 to 2 miles sounds great, but if we're going to set it up somewhere like the Refugee Center, they're going to have to drive a little bit further. So just so you know, there are some options out there, but it's going to cost money. And it would, that's another conversation of who would pay for it, things like that, who's willing to pay for it. And I love there's a lot of people that are willing to help, that want to volunteer. But just like with anything else, it's hard to keep those same people with that same energy every month. Obviously, Patagonia has got they started a good process with Republic Recycling, and theirs is a lot of volunteers. They have a lot of volunteers that are there every time it's open, so.
One note, we're over an hour and a half. Consensus on the dais to continue? Yes, we have one more presentation.
Okay.
Oh, that's
All
right.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions from the?
Real quick comment. Yeah, thank you so much for going out and doing this. I think I really appreciate the passion that everybody has, in getting it this far. And I was really encouraged to see how many people actually participated in there. So that was really cool too. So I appreciate the breakdown and everything. And I'm not really sure what some of the answers could be, because I know that cost is a huge thing. Everything costs, and I was a little bit discouraged to see that people would rather would only do if it's for free, and so that was a little bit discouraging. But I do love the idea about outreach and education and things like that, because the more you know, the more that you can do, and some of the different creative things that can be done. And I really loved the cat meme at the end. That was really, really great. But I want to thank everybody who takes cans to the shelter, and the high number. I really love that, and it's not 100%, so we can like reach and get there hopefully eventually. But thank you so much for all the work that you guys have been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And our last presentation from the Fry Boulevard Interceptor. Taco Bell Interceptor. I know you got some great news, sir.
Yes, the Taco Bell pipe.
All that close.
I know, I thought there's nothing.
I thought it was just going to be.
It's not good.
No. And that too.
I think you can get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Bryce Kirkpatrick. I'm an external operations manager. I'm over the wastewater department here at the city. A 10-inch gravity-fed clay sewer interceptor running underneath Fry Boulevard near the intersection of State Route 90 and 92 is in disrepair. This line is fed from the south and supports nearly 140 acres of residential and commercial sewer connections. The current departmental standard for the sewer maintenance department is to service and clean the entirety of the City of Sierra Vista sewer system every 2 years. These crews are now required to visit this site for cleaning at least twice a month, removing blockages that occur due to the presence of a large sag under Fry Boulevard. If cleaning is not performed, sewer backups will occur, creating environmental hazards and property damage. It appears that in recent years, additional settling has been observed by the maintenance crews, creating a concern that the sag is worsening. Furthermore, the sag makes evaluation of the line difficult, as the sewer camera that we utilize to evaluate these lines must be submerged to travel through that sag. Notably, there are some longitudinal cracks prior to and after the sag where the camera can still obtain some footage. Since the interceptor is constructed of vitreous clay pipe, it's essentially clay pipe. They used to use it quite a bit in the 70s and 80s. There's a likelihood that if the sag continues to drop, the line will eventually fracture, creating hazards that will be more costly and create a more arduous interruption to the general public for repairs. ADOT has indicated that they are tentatively scheduled to pave this area in the spring. We have been requested by ADOT to attempt to make this crossing prior to their paving operation, preventing damage to the freshly rehabilitated pavement. Current plans for the repair of this line involve a full closure of Fry Boulevard for a period of 2.5 weeks, with a total construction timeline of 6 weeks. The anticipated detour plan for the closure of Fry Boulevard is shown here, ideally right side up. That focus on its own. Funds have been budgeted for this project through the sewer enterprise funds, We are currently working in coordination with SSVEC, ADOT, and our contractor in order to deliver this project in a timely manner. This address to council is to serve as a notification of work to be performed. I would be happy to answer any questions you all have.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It doesn't appear to completely block any business access, like, you can get in from all these businesses some other way, right? I didn't realize so much of it was gonna have to be closed then. And it's 2.5 weeks, and then that everyone has to go down Avenida Escuela and down MLK? Is that what we're gonna, or Ace? Because there's, I see people doing that.
Well, so the entrance into Chase Bank, that's gonna be closed as well.
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Rodriguez, that's correct.
Is
There
that
is
just
a farther entrance just to the south of that. The reason for that closure is that is our next manhole upstream where we will pull and bypass from. So
there's that other one in the back closer to Circle K. That one will be open or closed?
That one will be open.
Okay. All right. Because again, same thing with businesses. I hate to put businesses at, for 6 weeks of bad traffic. That's horrible. Obviously, the sewer line is the sewer line. We can't direct it, but
Is it 2.5 weeks of traffic we did hear 6 weeks for something, but I think that's for the whole project, right? Not the road closing down.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, yes, that's correct. So the entire duration of the project is planned for 6 weeks. The closure of Fry Boulevard is planned for 2.5.
Okay. And this is prior to ADOT coming and ripping up the road?
Mr. Mayor, yes, it is.
all right. I mean, that's the good thing is we have to get this done before that happens, right? Because you don't want to get that fresh, that road we've all been waiting for, and then tear it up again. That'd be horrible.
So
Also with that.
yeah, when is it starting? When?
Mr. Mayor and
Like
Mayor Pro Tem
yesterday?
Humphrey, yeah, that's the plan essentially. We have started moving forward, obtaining a contractor for this work, and we are in communication with ADOT now regarding the permitting for this. They are willing to accelerate our permitting time process in effort to work in coordination with their project. Additionally, we are working with SSVEC. We're digging very close to large power lines. They are going to have to brace them as we dig alongside them. The sewer is roughly 13 feet deep, so.
And it has to be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Go ahead, yeah.
Just so council's aware, staff did put effort into looking at other options which would not require the closure of Fry Boulevard, and both of those other options would cost an additional $500,000. So this current repair does fit within what is currently budgeted in this fiscal year for the repair, and the sewer fund is already in distress, and an additional $500,000 would not be a good expense to place on that fund.
Hey, Chief, how would this disrupt any? Yeah,
both of us?
Both of us probably. So,
I'll let you go first. Yeah, I remember, Carl, I like the traffic circulation. We will be able to mitigate the situation and get to incidents based on where the traffic flow is.
Okay. Chief.
And likewise, we'll pre-plan in advance for this. Also, there's a support element I'll need to work with Sharon on as far as traffic control needs on this. I know that they may already have a plan on that, but we'll coordinate on that as well.
The other part is that MLK construction that we have coming up. KENG.
Let's go back.
Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Rodriguez, that's another good point. KENG is the contractor. They are scheduled to do the MLK work for us as well, so we're working with them so that they would focus first on the sewer, get that out of the way, then move to MLK as part of the ADOT 9092 improvements. So there's a lot of coordination going on between all the various, contracting needs and making sure we get this order correct and with the least amount of disruption to the public.
Will work be done day and night? Or is it only a daytime thing?
Question.
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Rodriguez, that's to be determined at this time. We're going to go into discussions more with the contractor selected on that.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying not to say. I wanted to make a joke, but I better not. But it sounds like it's getting worse and worse, and this is something that you cannot avoid. I mean, there's no questioning that we have to do it. So I think that pre-planning and finding ways around it, and just get your Schlotzsky's now before things get closed off. I mean, and during the closure, I mean, go there too. But yeah, I'm really glad that we know what's going on and we were able to take care of it. I mean, but things like this, it's one of those things that you don't really think about until you think about it, like at your house. Like your toilet's working, and then nobody thinks about it, and then it stops working, things back up, and you're like, your whole world is just turned upside down. So we definitely don't want anything to get worse. So I'm excited to know that we're going to be taking care of this.
Is there anything we can do to make sure, like, I've seen other places where they close businesses, and so it's not so much on the business to make their own signs that say, hey, this is the entrance to Schlotzsky's, like the other side of Chase Bank by Circle K, right? You can get to Schlotzsky's, the Axe Throwing Yard, Sonic, or something like that. Is there going to be something that says entrances, like business entrance or whatever, something like that, signage that people like, hey, it's still open, you can get in this way?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Rodriguez, so we've had this happen before on various other projects, and we've always worked with the business owners to try to make sure that they're receiving, or the public is receiving the information to know that they're still open and that there's alternative routes to be able to get to their location.
Okay. And then my last question for that: have they all been notified? Everybody in that plaza?
No, because
Okay.
we will be working on that.
Okay.
So we normally in construction, what we'll do is we'll walk in with the contractor side by side, and we go and door knock on every single door before we actually go and start work.
Okay.
So they'll be notified.
All right.
Yeah. Mayor McCog, Councilmember Rodriguez, this is our first, public disclosure of this particular project. So now we'll be, of course, posting it on our website and social media, and then working with the media to make sure we get the work out, and then obviously the personal visits with the businesses as well. So we'll try to get out ahead of this to make sure everybody knows this is coming. So.
Okay. It's gonna be a fun intersection for the next year.
Yeah. Everybody in town's going to be affected by this, so we're
progress.
Everyone will love it when we're done.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That part.
They're gonna hate you for the next 6 months. Though.
Yep.
Sorry. They're gonna hate us too. Sorry.
They already did.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for some great news.
Bad news.
Done before Taco Bell
Maybe bad news for last.
All right, so we have report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Guys. Yes, ma'am.
So next week, the 5th of March, Transportation Commission meeting will be at 3:30 up here in the conference room. There's also an openings for members, so if anybody's interested, check it out. I dare you to come to a meeting and check it out and see if you want to join. If you know anybody that might want to join, let them know. We'll see you next Wednesday up here in the conference room for the Transportation Commission.
Yeah, I got somebody for you. Anybody else?
Well, a few of us will, as it was mentioned earlier, will be at the conference. Yeah, from the 9th to the. I don't remember. The 13th. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Now we go to item F, future discussion items and council requests. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor McCaw. You have two things for your March 25th work session scheduled right now, your mid-year budget review, and then a presentation on the animal shelter expansion and way forward.
Anything else? We will see you on Thursday. Thank you so much.